is the airturn ped 500, and this is one of the best pedals that I've come across lately. And you have the page flip butterfly, which has been a very popular one in recent years, but this airturn ped 500 arguably could be the best one. However, it does have some cons though, so stick around to the end to find out what those cons are. So let's talk about the ped 500. The design is actually quite unique compared to its predecessor, the airturn ped Pro, which, to be honest, I actually think that this is a much better design. It's got a very good rubber feel to the front. It also has a very good rubber feel on the back. Now, what I really like about this particular pedal is because the rubber on the back has this very interesting matrix-like pattern, so that way it doesn't fly off the floor when you like kick it accidentally. I really like that because that is going to help with just the friction of the pedal to the ground. It's not going to slip. And as a violinist and gig musician and chamber musician, I want to make sure that something sticks on the ground. If I accidentally kick my foot on the pedal, then I won't worry about it slipping. That's a plus. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen pedals have this very, very cheap rubber on the back that is good for maybe like a year or two, but then it really dies out. It kind of slips, and I really don't like that. So I'm glad that it's a small little engineering detail, which I think they've thought about, and it's much appreciated. And on the back also, since we're talking about the back, we also have this little guide on how you can work this pedal. It also has a QR code, so that way you can scan it with your phone and go digitally there. And most importantly though, that because this company is based in Colorado, they're also very passionate about keeping things manufactured inside the US. So there's been a lot of talk about tariffs as of this video, and you don't have to worry about that because this is manufactured in the US. I talked to the owner of airturn, and they do everything in-house. They make sure they look at all the necessary things regarding the pedal before they actually ship it out. They go through and inspect every single pedal before they ship it out to stores or, to individuals. But the design of the ped 500 closely relates to the ped Pro, that it has a very square design, and you see that it has like a little space inside here, so that way you can differentiate the left pedal to the right pedal. And you may notice that it also has this very funky design in the front as well. This is also kind of to help kind of grip the foot, so that way when you are using the pedal, you don't have to like slip on that. I think that was a common problem with the ped Pro, because I talked to a lot of people who had invested in the airturn ped Pro, and that was like their biggest drawback from the pedal, is that they didn't like how it was slippery on the bottom, like it slipped on the ground, but also it was very slippery, and it didn't create like a very good pedal experience. Like when you press down, it wasn't really a secure page turn, if you know what I mean. At its thinnest, this is thinner than my iPhone 14 Pro, which is the thinnest part over here, which is really stupidly thin. I have not come across a pedal that is this thin and this accurate. So I think that in terms of design, airturn gets a big win here. And after talking to the owner of airturn, he emphasized that they want this pedal to be used by traveling musicians. So anyone who likes to travel light, if they have an iPad and they have a music stand and they have a pedal, they want the pedal to be part of this one really compact setup that you're probably carrying all over the place. And if you're a traveling musician, you're gonna want this particular pedal because it is very, very light. But what you may notice about this pedal is that the biggest design choice and the biggest design difference compared to the ped Pro is that it has these squares. Now, I'm gonna actually go ahead and, can you hear that? That's such a satisfying click. You can hear the click, which is really, really nice. And you can be rest assured that when you press on the square, which is, the pedal, you're going to be rest assured that this is a solid response to the tablet. And the previous flagship ped Pro was flat, and its design was cool, but it did have these little, it had this little texture, so that way you can actually kind of press down on it. But that was a big drawback. I'm glad that airturn has decided to put these squares over here, so you can hear that this is a very solid click when you're turning the page in what you could be using, 4-score, PS-score, music, whatever it is. But most importantly, you're not going to be stressed out about whether or not you're going to double tap. And something that I've noticed with this particular pedal is that you can actually keep the foot on the pedal. If you don't want to like put your foot off the pedal, then you can just leave your foot on the pedal, and then once you're about to turn the page, you can just press it gently and it'll turn. I find this to be very, very useful, as opposed to kind of moving my foot back and forth. I can just keep my foot in the same place, and then I can just like really lean into it, and I shouldn't have any problems with it. And as a fact, I didn't have any problems with it. On the front, of course, you have the power button, and then you have a keyboard button, a Bluetooth, and then also a power button. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is the box that it comes in. Cardboard, very easy. And it also has this cable for you to charge. And I believe it is USB-C. Yes, it is USB-C. So USB-C to USB-A, and voila. Although I think it would be good if there was an option to have USB-C to USB-C. If someone is using, what my guess is, a lot of the laptops now has USB-C, I think it might be best to have USB-C to USB-C, so that way you have a very clear charging. Although you could easily do USB-C to USB-C if you have an extra cable. I think you're gonna get the charging a lot faster. So that's something to consider for airturn if they're watching this, that if they want to maybe include a USB-C to USB-C, I'm all for that. And then also there is a quick start guide, very easy on how to plug it in, how to charge it, how to connect with Bluetooth. It took me less than a minute to connect it with my iPad, and I'm guessing for someone who uses an iPad, you're not gonna have any problems with this. But this is all you're getting. You know, you're not getting much else. You're just getting maybe one plastic, and then just a few pieces of paper, the pedal, and the cable. It's very minimalist design. I see a lot of companies these days moving towards paper cardboard packaging to be more environmentally friendly. I think that's great. I think the classical music community is all about that. So I really applaud airturn for trying that out. So now for the drawback, for the cons, which is probably why you're watching this video to begin with. So you have this USB-C cable, of course. It would be really cool to have another USB-C ending, just because USB-C is faster charging, and if I'm on a pinch, I need to charge something very quickly, I can just do that with the USB-C. That's one thing. The second thing is more of a design issue for me. I really like the fact that there are these little squares, right? But sometimes if I'm going to be performing, then I want to make sure that I have complete confidence that I'm hitting the right pedal, right? For the majority of us, we're going to be pressing the right pedal and not so much the left. So it would be cool, and these are just my 2 cents, to have the right square slightly bigger, so that way if I'm in a performance and I kind of freak out, then I can actually feel with my foot that it's a bigger button, and then I can be assured that I'm going to be turning the page. This is going to be really helpful for anyone who's a chamber musician. This would be helpful for anyone who's a pianist who really can't physically see under the keyboard, and they need to feel that pedal. And if they can feel that one is bigger than the other, I think that would be a huge win. If they have like a 2.0 version of the PED 500, I think that'll be a massive upgrade. Now, with that said, I think that this click, although very satisfying, I think can be slightly too loud. I think that if this is going to be used and taken seriously by like professional performing artists on the world stages, which I think it can, I think this is going to be a big problem, that's this click. If there is a way to make the button bigger and the click sturdy but sound softer, I think that's going to be another huge win for airturn. The thing is, though, that's why people gravitate towards the page flip butterfly, which is great because you can kind of like gently press down, But the problem with that is that it squeaks. You know, my wife, who's a pianist, actually uses the page flip, and then the squeaking. Hold on, let me go grab that. Okay, I'm back. So the page flip butterfly versus the air turn. You know, the design here is also pretty good, but you can hear that is not that of a good. You know, it was great at first when we started using this page flip butterfly together. I like the fact that I can kind of squeeze it in, but after maybe 5 or 6 years of use, it's not feasible for us to use in a performance setting, because you hear this little, like in the middle of a very quiet part in the music, we're like, it just doesn't work. So at least that little click is very nice. But if we can make that click more quiet and get the right part of the pedal button bigger, those would be my 2 cents on this. But otherwise, I think airturn has made a really good product, something that is a minimalist design, something that's thinner than my iPhone 14. And what are your comments about this? I mean, I think that this is something that I'm going to be using in my arsenal from now on. You can see from the page flip, this is really, really thin, like impossibly thin. I'm surprised that they got this super thin compared to the butterfly. So I think this is a good addition to anyone's gig arsenal. This is a good addition to anyone who is a serious musician, a student, a performer, someone who works in the pits, someone who is a quartet player. I think this is going to be a real game changer for you. And of course, I want to thank again the kind people at airturn based in Boulder, Colorado. Really appreciate you sending me this pedal for me to review. And leave your comments down below, guys. Would you buy this pedal? Are you considering it? I'll also leave a link down in the description below for you to take a look at. And yeah, give your thoughts on the airturn. And believe it or not, I'm actually going to be reviewing an upcoming prototype of their music stand. So you want to be subscribed to the channel for you to take a look at that. For now, I'll see you guys in the next video.